All right, guys, and we are live with episode 79 of the Endless Endeavor podcast. Today is December 23rd, so we have 2 days before Christmas. It's actually the 14th for me, but I record about 10 days ahead of time. Gives us that 1 week to 10 days for production and whatnot. But today is another solo episode, and like I've said before, I get a lot of positive feedback when I do solo episodes. So I enjoy putting these out and just sharing my thoughts and my perspectives. And going into the holidays, I mean, like I said, it's the 14th of December. We're coming up on Christmas. Everybody's busy. Everybody's traveling. And so this just makes it a lot more logistically simple that I don't have to arrange a guest to come out and sit down and have studio time and all that stuff. So the thing that's interesting about the show is that I prefer to do all of my interviews face to face. I'm on episode 79. The only time I've done Zoom was, I don't even remember what episode it was, but probably 50 something. And I just don't like that vibe. I don't like looking at another human being through a computer screen and trying to have an authentic conversation with them. Now, I know a lot of shows do that. They put out good content and you can have good conversations. But like I always say, I'm an energy guy. I like to be sharing and occupying the same space with that person. I feel like that's how you connect and that's how you have authentic discussions. So rather than having Zoom connections with people all over planet Earth, I'd rather just on episodes where I don't have somebody scheduled, I'd rather just do a solo episode like this. So let's go right into some of the things I wanted to talk about today. I just got off the phone with my friend Tony Cowden. If you do not know who Tony Cowden is, go to Instagram, follow him. He is an absolute stud, super good, down-to-earth guy. And he just called me. And as of now, this is not announced yet, but by the time you're hearing this, his announcement for running for Congress will be released. And I just want to support him in any way that I can. He is a career special forces guy. He worked with Triple Canopy, and that's where his group of friends and my group of friends kind of cross paths. He was up in Mosul, and I was down in Ramadi. But a lot of crossover from the two teams. Like, we all knew each other. We all worked together previously. And it's just cool seeing somebody from my past as a warrior moving into politics. I've seen a couple guys do that. I had Joe Kent on. He was a ranger with me way back in the day. And he's making a run for Congress as well. He's doing extremely well. The polls show him winning. I hope that he keeps up this momentum. If you don't know Joe Kent, go back and listen to the episode that he did with me. Both guys are just studs. They're down to earth, they're reasonable, and they're not out on the fringes. Like, I just had a long conversation with Tony about a lot of different issues. And people think like just because you're from a military background that you're going to fall in line with everything being like way out on the fringes of being a right-wing radical. And nothing could be further from the truth. He is obviously, he's very pro 2A, and he has very good perspectives on a lot of different issues, but he's also centered. He's also reasonable. He can hear both sides of the argument. And I think he is one of the best suited people for office that I know personally. I get talked to all the time, run for office, run for office, run for office. And to tell you the truth, I don't think that I am emotionally ready for something like that. It was Plato, though, who said famously, one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. And you hear quotes like that and they resonate. They make sense because he's absolutely right. I look at a lot of people that are in office right now and I think, what the fuck are they doing in there? It's like a fucking clown show in DC these days. But if I look at the clown show that's going on and I just shake my head at it, but I'm not willing to step into the realm and put my energy into it and try and influence it in the best way that I can, well, fuck, it's hard to bitch about it then, right? And so don't get excited. I'm not anywhere near announcing a run for politics, but when I see my friends do this, it makes me realize like, man, this is really the only way out of this mess. It really is. Good people that are not motivated by power, they are not motivated by money, they are motivated by changing the trajectory of America into a much better one. They want to take this country where it's at, and they want to look 10, 20, 30 years down the road and think, how can my actions today set up a better future for our children? And that's what these guys are doing. And it's really cool to see. You know, when I think about it personally, I just think I don't know if I could be suited for politics, because those people, and this is something that I actually look at and admire, to be able to play that game and walk that line and do it in a professional manner. Maybe when I'm a little older and I've calmed down a little bit, but just the thought of dealing with those pieces of vermin in DC, I think I would want to fucking strangle someone almost every day. My wife has given the hard no on politics because she knows I'm an emotional person. I get invested in the things that I do. And she knows that that would be a bad path for me right now. I know I would be frustrated to no end. I'd be upset. I'd be angry. And then you have to ask yourself, what do we do with the life energy that we have? What best suits us? And selfishly, what best suits me right now is building my brand, building my business, growing my gym, which I've talked about before. It is growing exponentially. We're going to have to put up a new facility here this year. And, well, we'll see how long it takes for the permitting process and all that. But I'm trying to grow my little corner of the kingdom right now. And I want to make sure I'm good. And where will the next phase of life take me after that? Who knows? We'll see, right? But I think it's important to make sure that you are good first and that you have all your ducks in a row. And then you can move on to bigger aspirations that may have more of an influence. But you have to go into politics knowing, and I talked to Tony about this literally an hour ago, knowing that it is going to be a dark path. You're going to be dealing with people that have the wrong ideology. They're going to be self-serving, a lot of political elitists, and being in that realm would be really tough. And so, do you give a period of time of your life to serve your community or your country, and with an understanding that this is going to be bad for me spiritually, it's going to be bad for me emotionally, but I'm doing this because I understand it's a necessity to set up a better future for our children. And I think that most of us, if we're being honest with ourselves, would say, yeah, that is something that makes sense, and there is a necessity to that. And so when I look at my path, I was in the government in some capacity since I was 18 years old. And as you guys know, until I just got fired a year and a half ago, I was always ingrained in some type of government service. And being away from the government, it's literally like, it feels so fucking good. One thing that you realize is once you get off the tit of the government paycheck and you are responsible for you, you will sink or swim based on your behavior and your actions. You will succeed or you will fail based on how well you do, how you grow your business, how you allocate your time properly, where your energy needs to be put to serve the mission best. And I can tell you guys, now that I've moved away from government service, where you always have that security blanket underneath you. No matter what you do, you're going to be okay. And taking that away has been one of the most rewarding feelings of my life. And I know I've talked about it on the show before, but the reason that I continue to bring this up is because there are a lot of people right now that are on the chopping block for the mandates, for not wanting to be part of the enforcement actions, all of the COVID stuff that's still plaguing at least the West Coast. I know some of you guys that live in middle America are probably sick of hearing about this because COVID is not a thing for some states anymore. But for the ones that it is still a thing for, i.e. Washington State, Oregon, California, you have to realize that if you stand up against it and you're willing to resist the mandates or resist enforcement actions that are you're being told to enforce, You may have to go stand on your own 2 feet. You may have to start over. You may have to go swing a hammer on a construction site, or you may have to go to a trade school and learn how to weld at 40 years old and start a new craft. But I'm here to tell you, if you do those things and you find yourself in a scenario where you are now on your own 2 feet and you are now responsible for you, you're going to find it to be incredibly rewarding. And once you have arrived at that place, there's no going back. I wouldn't go to work for a government agency right now where I had some dipshit supervisor telling me what to do, like I did when I was in the Marshal Service. I wouldn't take a position like that again. I don't think I'd do it for $1 million a year, because what is your sanity worth? What is that worth to you? There's nothing more rewarding than being a self-made person, meaning you have taken your dreams, your aspirations, your goals, whatever it is that you want to build off of, and you put that into action and you start to grow as a person and you find your own independence. And it's almost like I have moved out of my parents' house again. It's kind of that feeling, like when you're 18 and you move out and it's like, oh, I'm my own man now. I can do whatever I want. You're almost feeling that again as a 40-year-old. And I think it is important for people to understand that, you fly the coop of your parents when you're 18, 19, 20. And then for the next decade or two, I think it's natural to be under the wing of somebody else, showing you the ropes, mentoring you, teaching you about responsibility, teaching you about courage and ethics and morality and all the things that make you a successful person. And then at, 35 to 45, that's when you need to walk away from that position and now start your own path where you're in charge. And now you're the one that's going to be doing the mentoring and the guiding. And I think it's a natural progression for human beings. It's strange to me when I see so many police officers in their 40s and their 50s, some even in their 60s, and they all hate it. I don't know a cop that's in his 40s that's like, man, I love being on patrol. It's fucking awesome. That's a young man's game. And so if you've arrived at the place where you don't feel that being a patrol officer is what fills your cup and makes you happy as a human being, it's time to move on. Don't get stuck in that position for 5, 10, 15 years because you're chasing a pension or because you're chasing retirement. Listen, I know that planning for the future is important. Having the financial ability to be free in the later years in life, it's important. But you don't need the fucking government to do that. You can do that on your own 2 feet. You don't need Social Security to do that. You don't need your 401k to do that. Be responsible for yourself. And, I'm just fucking starting this. So what do I know, right? But this is what I know. Probably been the happiest of my entire life for this last year. I'm telling you guys, when you walk away from an agency that's just operating upside down, and I'm sure it's the same for these big corporations, when you walk away, you will feel a literal weight lift off you. And just in a moment in time, it's like, oh, fuck, I can breathe again. What is that worth? That's worth more than what they can compensate you financially. That's your real life energy, getting reinvigorated, being able to be who you want to be and invest your time and your energy in what you want to be able to invest it in. For me, it's jujitsu. I love jujitsu. You guys are sick of hearing me talk about jujitsu, I'm sure, but that was my passion. And I used to think, and I've talked about this on the show before, I used to think that chasing a passion for your profession can be dangerous, because if it doesn't work out, you start to have some resentment towards that. And I did. I resented jujitsu for a while because I put so much energy into it and it never produced by giving back to me. And I was always in debt with my gym. I was always struggling to pay the bills with my gym. And I got to the point where I'm like, what the fuck do I have to do? Well, I've realized I wasn't giving it the right energy. I wasn't nurturing the gym in the way it needed to be nurtured. I also wasn't running the logistics of the gym in a way that they needed to be ran. And with a few tweaks and some motivation and some drive to see it through, I figured out the formula. And the formula should be difficult to figure out, because if everybody had the formula to have a successful business, then every single human being on planet Earth would have a successful business, right? That's not the case. I forget what the statistics are, but it's something like, I think one in 5 businesses sees its second year. Like, the majority of new businesses don't last 1 year. And so I wanted quick results and I wanted it to work out, but that's not life. I had to invest a lot of time. And I opened my gym in 2015, and here we are. 2020 was the year that it blew up and that it's giving back. And then it became a viable source of income to raise a family on. So I know I'm beating a dead horse with some of this stuff, guys, but trust your instincts. Move away from agencies or corporations that feel corrupt and feel like their morality and their integrity is not in alignment with yours. Move away from those, start a new path, and I'm telling you, the universe will reward you by giving you what you need, not what you want, what you need. And I think that it's almost inevitable. If you put the right energy in and you stick by your convictions, you're going to find a path to success. But that path to success is going to be something that really, really fills your cup emotionally and spiritually, or in contrast to what you get by working for some mega corporation or some mega agency. Those places, they don't have the ability to be the right source of energy for you. They always preach it. Family first, we take care of each other, we're here for you. But where the rubber meets the road, they just don't have the capacity to take care of you in the way that you can take care of yourself. So with that, I will move past that. I think that's that could be a whole episode in itself, but these solo episodes, I like to keep them about an hour, and I just ranted for 17 and a half minutes. So let's move on. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I posted an x-ray of my knees. I had an orthopedic surgeon here in Everett, Washington, tell me that I needed a full knee replacement. And I was in a lot of pain at the time, and it got to the point where I could barely walk. And I went in there, I got an MRI, I took x-rays, and they looked over everything during my consultation. And his immediate solution was full knee replacement. I was 38 at the time, so this was a few years ago. I'm 41 now. And I asked him, I said, is there anything else I can do? Can I do supplements, PRP, stem cells, any certain like physical therapy routine? Like, what are my options before I go into replacement surgery? And his exact words were, none of that stuff works. The science doesn't support it. You are going to need surgery. And so when you hear that from someone that you're inherently putting your trust in, what you find is it puts you in a spot of almost like hopelessness. You know, like I'm not ready to have my fucking knees replaced at 38. I'm still very active. I still want to climb some big mountains. I still want to train hard jiu-jitsu, but I was in a lot of pain, and he said this is what would get rid of the pain. So I remember I went home and I thought, what can I do to try and help myself before I go down this option? And I adjusted how I trained. I stopped running. I wasn't hitting CrossFit as hard as normal. And dude, I'm telling you, the pain started to wane almost immediately. And it got to the point where I started actually feeling good again. And so I just had another checkup, and I had my knees x-rayed a couple weeks ago, or no, last week. And I posted the picture on my Instagram. And luckily, this is where the internet is cool. There was a lot of people who are qualified to look at the x-ray and share their thoughts with me. And I got DMs from different doctors, and the unanimous theme of the DMs coming in from qualified people was, your knees look fine. Yeah, there's some preliminary signs of arthritis, and they're not the healthiest knees I've seen, but they're nowhere near what I would call needing immediate knee replacement. And so Dr. Sean Baker, who I don't know if you guys follow him, that's another guy you should follow. He's the inventor of the carnivore diet, and he has found that eating meat, primarily meat and eggs, is actually a great source of both micro and macronutrients. And he's been on a all meat diet for over 5 years. And he's doing awesome. He's 55 years old. He's a stud. He trains jiu-jitsu with me all the time. And the proof is in the pudding with that guy. Whatever he is doing works for him, right? And again, everybody, you do you and I'll do me. And so he's found a methodology that works for him. And it's cool to see. So I've been trying some of this stuff. But the reason I bring him up is he is an orthopedic surgeon by profession. And he told me last night that he's replaced more knees than he can remember. And he watched me move on the mats, and he looked at some of my mobility, and he goes, Greg, based on how you're able to move right now, if you were to replace your knee, you would immediately lose 20% of your mobility. And it's like, fuck, man. Like the doctor that wanted to replace my knee, he never said, hey, can you do a deep squat? Hey, can you do a pistol? Can you articulate back and forth from a deep squat to like where I'll put one leg out straight, one leg in the deep squat, and then move back and forth? Like I have a lot of mobility in my hips and in my knees, and that's through years of jiu-jitsu. I'm very flexible, and I'm very mobile in my hips and my knees. My shoulders are fucking shit, but that's most jiu-jitsu guys. You have good hips, good knees, and shit shoulders. But it's like that doctor doesn't know anything about that side of my life. He doesn't know how I move. He doesn't know what my goals are or how I like to spend my time. He just sees a knee that he could replace. Now I have to ask myself, does he see a knee that he can replace and make a quick 75K? Or does he legitimately think like, oh, this guy will be better with this, so let's do it? And I don't know the answer. One is a lot dirtier and darker than the other, I can tell you that. But at the end of the day, he's telling me to do something that I clearly don't need to do. And this isn't to poo-poo on doctors or say, fuck doctors, but I think it's important for us to realize that a doctor is a human being. We are all inherently flawed. Some are better than others. Some are great. Some are shit. And then there's everything in between. So if you ever find yourself in a scenario where a doctor is telling you to do something and it hits that little intuition inside of you and makes you say, something feels off, I'm telling you, go get a second opinion. Go get a second opinion, because I have now had 3 instances where a doctor did something that felt wrong at the time. And then in hindsight, when speaking to other physicians, they were shocked that a doctor would say that to me or recommend that procedure. I'll tell you one of the other stories really quickly is my daughter, my first daughter. So she's 12 now. So this is 12 years ago. She wasn't eating. It's like 2 days old, right? I mean, we're brand new parents for the first time. We don't know anything about raising a baby. And we have this baby that will not eat. And so we call the pediatrician and he's like, well, has she peed or pooped in this long? No. He goes, okay, if she goes another, I forget what it is, 24 hours with no bowel movements or peeing, then she needs to go back to the doctor. And we're like, okay. Well, how do we go back to the doctor? Just take her to the ER. And then they can admit her to the NICU from there, but you can't just bring her into the NICU. I'm like, okay. So sure enough, she doesn't need anything for the next day. We take her to the ER. And the ER doctor says, I'm concerned she might have some infection. So we're going to do a spinal tap. This is like a 4-day-old baby at this point. And I remember thinking, man, why would that be the first thing that they jump to? A spinal tap on a 4-year-old baby. And I asked him, and he goes, because this is how we can check for infections in the spinal fluid. And it didn't sit right with me. And it made me, there was just something about that. It was like, man. I don't want to be the guy who's just a fucking Army Ranger knuckle dragger telling a physician what to do. And so I was like, Greg, just hold your tongue. He knows what he's doing. It doesn't feel good to you because someone's going to put a fucking needle in your 4-year-old daughter's spine. Of course that won't feel good. It's going to make you feel upset. But trust the process. And so he says to the nurse, hey, before we push the spinal tap, I want you to get an IV going. So she goes and she sticks her. And I've stuck 1,000 IVs. I mean, when we were young Rangers, we gave ourselves IVs all the time. So it's something that I feel like I'm pretty proficient in. And at least I have an understanding of how the process works. And she sticks and she misses. And then she sticks and she misses. And then she sticks and she misses. And I'm not saying I could have hit because it's a fucking 4-day-old baby. I don't think she has the vascularity that young Rangers have. But after number 4, I said, listen, maybe I'm overstepping my boundaries here, but we're fucking done. Because you missed 4 times, what's going to say you don't miss 10 times? Like, she's in fucking agony. And the nurse goes, okay, like maybe we should just admit her directly to the NICU because they specialize in that over there. And the NICU is literally across the street. So I said, okay, it would have been nice if we did that 20 minutes ago, but cool, let's do this. So they take my daughter across the street to the NICU. Now we're dealing with doctors and nurses and a nursing staff that specialize in babies. The nurse started an IV because they said she was dehydrated, obviously not eating for however many days. She hit on the first stick. Then the doctor came and talked to me. And I said, yeah, across the street, they were looking at doing a spinal tap. And his jaw dropped. And he was shocked. And he goes, what? I said, yeah, that's what they were going to do, but they couldn't get the IV started. So they sent her across the street to do it here. And he lets out a sigh and he's like, listen, I'll be talking to them when we're done here, but that is absolutely not what you do on a newborn baby. He goes, this is what you do on a newborn baby. He goes, right now I have a list based on observing her and doing an assessment of her. This is my list of what could possibly be wrong with her. And he goes, so then I continue to go through my list and check things off that, okay, it can't be this because of this. All right, I'll draw a line through that. All right, now I understand that it can't be this because of that. And he goes, I have a methodology that I go down the list of possibilities and then I continue to cross them out until I come up with a small list of, hey, this is no shit what I think is potentially wrong with your child. Once I arrive with the smallest list possible, now and only now do we consider any type of invasive treatment measures or invasive diagnostic measures like taking a spinal tap. And I was like, wow, shocking. That's a lot of common sense. Ranger's brain gets that. But my whole reason of going on this fucking rant is because my gut said something's off, and then the specialist agreed 100% with how I felt. So if you're in the doctors with your child or even with yourself and something doesn't feel right, push back a little bit. Ask for a second opinion. Do not just blindly trust someone because of what their title is. And so here I am now. And my knees have felt the best they've felt in a long time. And I'm going to go get stem cells, I think, injected in them in January to continue to try and rebuild them and treat them in a natural method. Or I don't know if that's natural, but in a less invasive method. And Sean told me, he goes, I don't think you'll ever have to need a full knee replacement. He goes, you eat healthy foods, you train hard, and you keep your body strong, your knees will last you your whole life. So there's that. So what else do we have to talk about? I wanted to keep this episode positive. I don't want to be ranting about all the pieces of shit that are holding us down, our Pelosi's and our Gavin Newsoms, like all that stuff's fun. But we're going into Christmas. I want to keep everybody's spirits uplifted, and I want to fucking have a good time with you guys today. But I do want to tell you this. I got kicked out of the marijuana store 2 days ago for not having a mask on. And of all places to get thrown out of over a mask. Half you guys listening probably don't even have mask mandates anymore. But in Washington State, anything indoors, mask mandate, still in effect. And so I walk in, he goes, hey, got to have a mask on. I said, I don't have a mask. He goes, here, I'll give you one. I said, no, thank you. Not being a dick, but come on, I'm buying weed. What are we fucking talking about? And I said, bro, I'm not putting a mask on. I've been coming here for a year. No one's ever asked me to put one on before. It's not been an issue. Just let me patronize your company and purchase some stuff, and I'll be on my way. And he goes, well, I agree with you, bro. And I think this is stupid, but Liquor Control Board said if they see people in here without masks on, they're going to shut our business down. What? I said, Liquor Control Board can fuck off, dude. What are you talking about? So you're in charge of your business. You have the courage to tell people what to do and what not to do in here, not them. And he goes, no, man, they come in here and they make us show them our video surveillance footage of our customers to make sure we are in compliance. And I got to bring this up because if you own a small business and anyone comes in and tells you that you have to show them your video surveillance footage, you can say, go fuck yourself. All right. You need a warrant to look at my video surveillance footage. And if you want to petition a warrant and write an affidavit and you want to fucking do that to see if people are in compliance, go do it and then come back with that. Until then, fuck yourself. But I think people don't know that the government can't just come into your place of business and say, show me your surveillance footage. Because here's the thing, and maybe law enforcement has changed dramatically in the last 2 years. But if I write an affidavit for a search warrant, I need to articulate to a judge that I believe these drugs are in this house for this reason. And here are the facts that have led me to believe why I think they are currently in this location. And I have to articulate the facts and circumstances that have allowed me to draw that conclusion. If I articulate those properly and the judge is also in agreement with my assessment, then he issues the warrant. Now I have legal authority to go in there and look. That's how a search warrant has always worked. But now they're saying they just can come in and look through your stuff. So I guarantee you, if you're going to allow the government to come into your building, there's one of two ways. It's consent or it's through a warrant. I guarantee you the Liquor Control Board agents or operatives, whatever the fuck they're called, come in there and they just bring it up in a manner like, hey, this is what we're doing. And then they're using consent as their legal authority to do so. So guys, tell them to get the fuck off your property and come back with a warrant. And the thing that sucks about this is this guy goes, man, I agree with you, but we just can't do that because we're risking our business. And I said, okay, well, you're risking you're not willing to risk your business to the government. I said, but you're going to lose a customer for life. I'll never step foot in this building again because you're not showing the courage to stand up and do the right thing. I say, the CrossFit gym that's literally 9/10 of a mile to the north. I said, yeah, that's mine. I own that. And I don't enforce the mask mandates at all. I never have, and I never fucking will. And you know what the government's done to me? Nothing other than empty threats. So if you're going to allow their empty threats to dictate your life, well, that's on you, but you're losing a customer now. And I feel like the thought of losing a customer used to bother businesses. because that's how you make your living. Customer service, word of mouth. But it's like they don't even care anymore. All right, man, have a good day. And it's like, dude, God, what the fuck's wrong with you guys? If I had a person come to my gym and have some type of, I don't even want to say a disagreement, because I wasn't in a disagreement with the guy. We were agreeing, but some type of discussion. And he seemed like a reasonable person. And he said, you know what? Based on your answer, I'm never going to come here again. Like, that would bother me. That would be something that I would say, hey, listen, how can we rectify this? Because it doesn't take a lot of bad press before your business starts getting a bad name in the community. And so, nope, let me walk out. But this is the most ironic thing. I'm in there to buy drugs to smoke into my lungs. Right? Let's call it what it is. Now, I don't think marijuana is bad for you if it's used properly, just like anything else. But let's not misconstrue what's going on. I'm buying drugs to smoke into my lungs. But when I buy those drugs, I have to have a mask over my face because the government is concerned about my respiratory health. Like, that's where we're at in Washington. It's so fucking asinine. I can't even wrap my head around it. But guess what? I didn't get any joints that night. So maybe they are looking out for my respiratory health. But this is what I tell people. When you're talking about the mask, you're talking about the vaccine mandates, like, it has nothing to do with a mask or even a vaccine. Like, now, I do think that the vaccine has adverse effects, and I don't feel like risking it. I do think that the vaccine has the potential to cause myocarditis and heart inflammation or fluid around the heart and all those things. That's why I've decided not to get it. But my problem is not with the vaccine, because if you have done your research and you want to take it, cool, go ahead. I don't give a shit. My problem with all of this is you telling me what to do. When the government says, do this or else, that should make some red flags go up. That should make you want to be resistant to what they're telling you. Do this or we're going to fire you. Do this or you can't travel anymore. Do this or your kids can't attend school anymore. Those are bullying tactics. And as soon as somebody's bullying you, the default response should be go fuck yourself. And I was thinking about it the other day. What if the government said, hey, every morning, every American needs to drink a 10-ounce glass of orange juice when they wake up. It's rich in vitamin C, blah, 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 whatever, right? They have their reasons. When you wake up, you walk downstairs, you drink 10 ounces of orange juice. And the reason I used orange juice as the analogy is because I like orange juice. And I would happily drink 10 ounces of orange juice with my breakfast. However, the second that they say, drink that orange juice or else, well, now fuck you. I'll never drink orange juice again. Not only fuck you will I never drink orange juice again, I'll fight you to the death if you're going to make me drink orange juice. I will lose my life today because you're telling me what I have to drink. We cannot allow this bullying tactic to be perpetuated just because they think that it's good for you. And I don't even know if they do. That's a mighty big assumption on my part. But let's just give the government the benefit of the doubt for 1 minute and say they are implementing these mandates because they think it's going to help you. They can still fuck themselves. We have to unite behind that. I don't care if you think it's good for you or bad for you. I don't care if you like orange juice or you don't like orange juice. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. They don't get to tell us what to do, period. That is not how this country was founded. That's not the principles that this country stands on. And so the mandates need to be resisted at every and all costs. And it starts by putting your mask on. And guys, I understand it's tough sometimes to walk into a store and you just don't feel like being the confrontational one. You don't feel like, you're like, you know what? My wife asked me to swing by and pick up whatever, and I'm just in and out. Sometimes it just feels easier to just put it on, right? But as soon as you do that, you are acknowledging that they have won and that you're going against your own moral principles just to appease others around you to make your interaction with them more smoothly and more convenient. Fuck that. We can't do that. And so thank God, I mean, I'm just a human being, right? I don't have all the answers and I don't always operate in a manner that I should. I'm just like everybody else. We're all flawed. But this is something that I've stood pretty firmly against. And I have had a couple instances where people recognize me in public and they come up and they're like, dude, Greg Anderson, fuck yeah, bro. I love your podcast. And like, we have a good interaction with them. If I had a mask on, I would lose all validity because I'm telling people publicly to push back against mandates that you don't think are moral and ethical. And then here I am walking around Cabela's masked up. I can't have that, right? And I'll even take it a step further. My wife got recognized checking out at the grocery store. I think it was like a month ago. She goes, or someone behind her in line goes, "You're married to Greg Anderson, aren't you?" Yeah. And it's like, and she told me when she got home, she goes, "Thank God I didn't have a mask on because you're pushing what our family believes publicly." And now if someone, she goes, "I never thought I would get recognized by a podcast fan in a grocery store, but my Instagram's public. There are people that follow me, see pictures with my wife, and they noticed her." And she said it was a good interaction and she said hello and whatever, right? But you never know when the moral foundation that you've built and that you're standing on is going to be observed by others. So you have to assume if these are lines you've drawn and these are principles that you want to stand on, you have to understand that those may be observed by others at any time, unbeknownst to you. And if you want to have validity as a man or as a woman, you need to be standing behind the principles 24/7, regardless of who's watching, but because you never know who's watching too, right? So enough on the mask. I went on a little rant and I don't want to rant much today. I just want to talk about some cool shit. But the last thing on the vaccine that I will say is this. I saw an interview with Fauci yesterday and he goes, "Yeah, you know, the thing is about the vaccine, if we find in the future that the vaccine does have some adverse effects and it does cause some issues in people, just know that's not the first time that that's happened. We've had vaccines throughout history that have caused problems with people. The HIV one caused a lot of problems with people." And he goes on to reference a couple vaccines and he's acknowledging that they fucked people up. And he's bringing this up to somehow validate that if the COVID vaccine does show to cause issues with people, that it's not the end of the world because it's happened before. I can't think of a more backwards way of thinking. Hey, you should take this, and I can't promise you it won't have negative effects, but you should take it because vaccines in the past have shown to have negative effects, and it's possible that this one might too. That's your fucking sales pitch? What is going on? I feel like Mr. Magatu in fucking, Zoolander. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like, that's the top scientists in our country. That's his argument to try and convince you that you should take this. Everybody has lost their fucking minds, and I can't take it anymore. But moving on, I want to take an opportunity to touch base with you guys on the most powerful documentary I've ever watched in my entire life. I shared it on my Instagram, but it is called 14 Peaks. Go to Netflix tonight and watch 14 Peaks. 14 Peaks is about a man named Nims Purja, who is a Nepalese-born climber, and it's his journey to setting the world record on summiting all the 8,000-meter peaks the fastest. The reason this is so inspiring is because what he did was believed by the climbing community to be physically and logistically impossible. And everybody he brought it up to kept telling him, Nims, that's impossible. That's impossible. You can't do that. There's no way that'll work. There's no way you can succeed. So he said, you know what? I'm going to name this Project Possible because I believe in it. And dude, it'll make you tear up. It'll give you goosebumps. This man's journey from growing up in Nepal, becoming a Gurkha, which if you're in the military, you know who the Gurkhas are. They're very well-respected fighting force from the Nepalese military. Then he served with the British SBS, and the only Gurkha in history to ever do that. So the guy is a stud. And through his time working with the British, he learned and understood the Western culture and how to interact in a way that Western people can kind of identify with. Yet he is a Nepalese person in his origin and his heart. And so it's really cool the fact that he can make this documentary in a manner that connects with like the Western ideology of climbing and in a Western style of production and connecting with people. But he is Nepalese in his heart, and he's doing it for his people. I'm telling you guys, I have never seen something as inspiring. The stuff that he did, the records that he shattered were shocking to the most accomplished mountaineers on the face of planet Earth. I think it was Jimmy Chin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he's a very, very well accomplished mountaineer. And he goes, yeah, Nims summiting Annapurna in a day, hungover. I don't even know what to think of that. It's absurd. And you could tell he legitimately was like, I don't even know how this is possible. I don't even know how he did it. And it's such a cool journey to watch. And I'm telling you guys, even if you're not into mountaineering, I dabble in mountaineering. I'm by no means a mountaineer, but I do dabble. I've climbed Rainier 5 times and a lot of smaller mountains in Washington State. But even if you've never put a crampon on and never stepped foot on the snow, watching this teaches you about the indomitable human spirit, about the will to succeed, to not give up, to fight hard, to be tough yet kind. Nims is a perfect role model because he strives hard to be the best version of himself. He trains as hard as a human being can train, but he's having fun the whole time. And he's enjoying himself. He's enjoying the journey. And he's bringing positivity to people through this journey. It's incredible, incredible to see. So if you haven't seen that, highly, highly recommend it. And then the last thing that I had in mind for today's show is I have been getting bombarded by people. Bombarded's a wrong word because bombarded makes it sound like they're annoying me, and it doesn't annoy me. So let me rephrase that. I have been getting approached by people asking relentlessly, how do I build a tribe of people? How do I make friends like you have? How do I interject myself with the right kind of people? And the reason why so many people are in a place of almost panic to have good men and women in your circle is because a lot of people feel like we're headed into uncertain times. And if we are to head into uncertain times, but we don't have a good social network of people to have your six, it's going to be exponentially tougher. So inevitably, people we are hardwired tribal. Tribalness is in our DNA. And if we want to succeed through any type of hardship, we know we have to have good people to our left and our right. But what makes people want to come to you and be part of your network or invite you to be part of theirs? What makes people want to do that? And I've received a lot of emails. They're like, I don't have any friends. I don't know anybody. I don't know how to connect with people. And it makes me sad because the art of connecting with people is relatively simple. And what I think is the easiest way to do it is there's two things you have to do. You have to make sure that you are good for yourself first. You have to take care of yourself. And we've talked about this on the show a lot with your mental health, with your physical fitness, with your capabilities, with your knowledge, and then also just having the social awareness of how to interact with people, how to treat people, how to value people, how to make people feel valued, how like it's basic leadership fundamentals that you are implementing, not even as a leader, but just as a person that shares and occupies the same space with others. You have to show them that you operate with integrity and morality. You have to show them that their opinion matters and that you value what they have to say, and you value what they bring to the table. But at its foundational level, before the right people will invite you to be part of their circle, what do you think you have to bring? You have to bring some type of value to that circle. And you're not going to bring value to that circle unless you have done the things to ensure that you are a valuable asset, meaning taking care of yourself, having a skill set. I think one of the biggest things that is often overlooked that people don't touch on is really making sure that you don't bring any type of negativity or drama or undue stress to the circle that you're trying to be a part of. I see that all the time. It's like people want to be part of something, but then when they show up, they bring some baggage. Then they bring baggage from their past. And I've had talks with people in my jiu-jitsu gym. It's like, listen, I like you being here. You're a good person, and you're an asset to the team in many capacities, but you detract from the team in other capacities. And when you show up, you bring up a lot of those poor me stories, or this happened to me, or I'm treated unfairly. And I said, as long as you keep bringing that negative energy to the mats and the victim mentality to my gym, you're never going to really be embraced by the team. So the first thing you have to do is you have to erase victim mentality. You have to put yourself on a path that makes you a valuable team member. And you have to have either a skill set, leadership qualities. You have to have the emotional capacity to be a good person for that team. And then you have to show those people that you're willing to adhere and abide by the kind of the group think, like what serves us the best. You can't make it about you. It needs to be about the collective. And when people see that your energy is about serving the collective, they want you on their team. They're excited to have people on the team like that. But how do you get there? And this is the biggest point I wanted to make today. How do you arrive at that place where you're interjecting yourself onto a team? Or it's almost like fucking tryouts for a sports team. You know, you have to create a scenario where you meet these people. And then after you meet these people, you have to create some type of relationship, and then you have to nurture that. And by nurturing that, I'm saying you exchange some text messages, you exchange some emails, maybe you go out to dinner, maybe you have a get together and you invite some of those people to your house. But how do you get there? What's the step to make that? That's an idea right now, and then you want to make that become reality. In my opinion, and take it for what it's worth, because everything that I do talks about jiu-jitsu, but I think finding some type of activity where everybody is sharing the same space and interjecting yourself into that activity is probably the single best way to put yourself out there in the preliminary phases of building a network of the right people. Jiu-jitsu, we commonly have 30 people on the mats at practice now. Our mats are packed. But out of those 30 people, maybe there's 4 or 5 that, and I shouldn't say 4 or 5 that you get along with, because it's up to you to get along with everybody. Figure out a way to build relationships with everybody at your academy or everybody that is in your space, regardless of what the activity is. But there's going to be 2 or 3 or 5 people that you connect with even deeper. There's something about those people that you're drawn to, something about them that feels strong, something about them that makes you say, man, I either want that person in my circle or I want to be in their circle. Once you've found those people, It's just like a relationship with a girl. If you're pushy, she is going to fucking write you off faster than you can say fuck. Like if you act needy, if you act desperate, suddenly you've lost the vibe, because as soon as you're acting desperate, the other party knows like, oh, this is self-serving. They want to feel good. They want to be better. They want to put themselves in a scenario where now they feel like everything's okay. And so that's why disparity never works in relationships. And the reason I bring this up is because I have had a handful of people that have reached out to me and they're like, hey, Greg, I see your circle of people. I think it'd be cool to be a part of that. Let me know if we can hang out sometime. I'd love to have you over for dinner. And it's like, hey, cool. Like, thank you. Nice to meet you. I appreciate the email. And then it'll be like, hey, how's tomorrow night sound? Oh, sorry, bro. I got jujitsu tomorrow night. What about Tuesday? Yeah, I got jujitsu that night too. How about Wednesday? Okay, now it's getting kind of fucking weird, bro. Hey, can I just come over and can I come over and meet you? Maybe we should go out to dinner on Thursday. I'll come over to your house. I can help you out with some chores around the house or whatever. Like, I'm getting messages like that. And guys, that goes from, hey, some guy wants to be part of the tribe that I'm building, to you feel like a fucking creep. Like now you're just ensured that you don't get to be part of my circle because you feel like a fucking desperate girlfriend that's just being pushy and gross. Like, get the fuck away. That's the last thing you want to do if you want to interject yourself with the right people. Don't ever be pushy about anything. As soon as you're pushy, it's instant fucking turnoff. And the thing that's sad about it is some of these emails I can tell are coming from a place of like, hey, they want to help out. Hey, they'd love to come over and help me out in the yard or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, that's cool that someone randomly wants to come over and help me in my yard. But bro, be serious too. Like if you think I'm going to have you over to my fucking house and being around my daughters to help me do yard work when I've never even fucking met you before off of Instagram, get the fuck out of here. Pull your head out of your ass. But a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, but there's a percentage of people that think like, hey, if I just put myself out there and let him know that I'm here at his disposal and I want to help out in any capacity that I can, that sooner or later he's going to buy off on me and it's all going to be good. And it's like, guys, that's not how you nurture any relationship. It would be like if you met a girl at a bar and she gave you her number and you text her and you said, hey, you want to go out to dinner tomorrow? No, I'm busy. What about the next day? I'm busy. How about 3 days from now? No, I'm also busy. Throw it out there, put it out to the universe, let her know you're interested, let her know who you are, what you're about. And then if she doesn't jump at the first chance, fucking let her ruminate on it. Let her think about, well, okay, this guy hit me up and now he asked me out. I turned him down and that's it. After that, you wait for her to come to you. You keep doing the right things. You keep showing up. You keep putting your energy where it needs to be put. And eventually she'll come back to you. But if you sit there and beg and beg and beg, it's the fastest way to ensure that this will never come to fruition. And I'm sorry if you guys are listening and you're one of the people that sent me like 20 emails. Like, hey, I appreciate the support, listening to the show and being a fan of the show. But if you've sent me 20 emails about wanting to get together, please don't send me 21. Like I got them. Okay. They came in and it almost sounds arrogant to sit here and say that, but it's like, you only have so much capacity in your life to know people and to give energy to people and to plan certain aspects of your day to be spent with people. And as someone that's running multiple businesses, I have 3 kids, I'm traveling a lot. It's like, it's nothing personal against you. It's just my life. But as soon as you invite yourself into my life on 15 different occasions, well, now it is kind of personal because it's bizarre. And as soon as somebody looks at your behavior and thinks it's bizarre, good luck getting into their circle, right? Right now, in any time in history, in my opinion, maybe not history, but in our lifetimes, it is important to have the right people in place and have a good circle of people. But what you have to do to obtain that is put yourself out there into the right settings, socially be around the right people, and give those people the right energy. And you give those people the right energy, inevitably, people like reciprocating positive energy back and forth. People like when you're occupying the same space and they walk away thinking that was an enjoyable experience having that person over for dinner, or that was an enjoyable experience having a big bonfire and having that guy there sharing his stories, or whatever it is. Once you do that and you bring people into your life and let them talk about who they are and what they bring to the table, and you understand how that person could add value to your life, now that person is going to say, okay, let's give this person a shot. Let's have him over for dinner more often. Let's talk about whatever. You can have aspirations to build your tribe a little bigger and incorporate that person and have them fill a bigger role. That is how it works. It has to be organic and it has to be natural. As soon as it starts to become forced and there's that feeling of desperation, it's over. You shot yourself in the foot because you were putting your desires ahead of your needs. And if you're doing that, inevitably the desires are going to push people away. So I'll leave that at that, but take care of yourself. Put yourself out there in the right settings socially, and you're going to find the right relationships will organically grow as a result. But do not try and force them. If someone hasn't responded to an email or 2 or 3, don't make it 10. If someone hasn't responded to a text message 2 or 3, don't make it 10. And, the weird thing about creating a public platform like this is inevitably, I think 99% of the people that listen to the show are solid, down to earth, cool motherfuckers. I get a lot of emails from you guys and it's awesome. But then there's that 1% that want to be your best friend, and it gets weird. And I was just talking to Andy Stump about this. It gets weird and it gets weird fast. So please don't be that weirdo. All right. Last thing I'll say is I've done a couple speaking engagements over the last couple weeks, and that is not something that I would consider myself a public speaker, right? I like speaking into the mic. I like sharing stories with you guys and having dialogue with the listeners of the show. And I like having guests on and doing the same thing. But sitting up in front of 100 people talking in an auditorium or whatever it is, I just never felt like that's my niche, But I've done it a couple times in the last couple weeks. And what I'm finding is at the end of the night, after the event is wrapping up or whatever, I have consistently had people approach me and say, Greg, I loved hearing you talk. That was inspiring. You made me want to be a better person. You made me want to do this. You made me want to do that. And I appreciate your time. And it motivated me, and it gave me a little bit of validity, and it made me think like, man, maybe that is something that I can continue to pursue, not in a professional capacity, but just to be able to create another platform to be able to help people and inspire people. Very similar to what this show is, I guess, except it would be in person. And so the reason I bring this up is because I'm like everybody else. I'm no different. I have reservations. I have doubts. I don't think of myself as very good at anything. Like, I still think my jiu-jitsu sucks a lot of times. And now there are people that want to hear me speak, and I have reservations about that because I'm like, who are you? You're just a guy. There's nothing special about you. But the truth is, there's nothing special about any of us. But at the same time, there's something special inside of each and every one of us. And if you can allow yourself the courage and allow yourself the opportunity to share with other people that aspect of you that is special, what you are going to do is you're going to enrich other people's lives. And for me, People have found the aspect of my life that is special is sharing my story, talking about some of my military experience, talking about some of the stuff that I've went through in the profession of law enforcement, talking about my experience of rebuilding myself as a man after leaving government service, talking about having the courage to resist what I think is detrimental to our society, talking about having the courage to be willing to resist what I think has the potential to hurt my fellow Americans and to hurt our society. And tons of people have been reaching out to me saying, thank you, I appreciate it. It's very rewarding, but what it does even more so than feel good on the inside is it makes me think, man, how many people out there have the same kind of reservations that I do about getting up and speaking about something, getting up and sharing their thoughts, sharing their perspectives. And if I'm willing to do that and it enriches other people's lives, there's a good chance that if you went and did that, it would enrich other people's lives as well. Every single one of us has some really good things to say and some good things to teach. But we have to have the courage to say, you know what? I'm going to put it out there. And some people will greatly appreciate it and some people will take value from it, but others will hate on it and others will criticize you and others will try and tear you down. And I get that. I get the mean emails. They're like, you're a stupid piece of shit. You don't know anything. You should have just stayed a cop. I don't know why you think you're qualified to talk about this and talk about that. Especially when I talk about like the vaccine, like the science people want to fucking tell me I'm an idiot. So what you do is inevitably is you put your focus on the smaller percentage of people that say, hey, you're a piece of shit. You're stupid. You shouldn't do that. But here's the thing. If we allow the people that are naysayers and that are haters and the people that want to tear you down, if you allow them to dictate what you do or what you don't do, what you're doing is you're allowing them to win. That's a win over you. That's a win over you as an individual human being. So instead of worrying about what somebody may think of you or how somebody may paint you in a negative light, instead of allowing that to dictate your actions, tell yourself this, and this is what I've been telling myself. Hey, I'm speaking in a room full of 100 people. And if one person walks away tonight with a better perspective, or a desire to be a better version of themselves, if one person in this room walks away with that, then it's a win for me and it's worth my time. And if the other 99 people in that room think I'm just a dummy as I walk away, but one person becomes better as a result, that's a win, right? We're not worried about appeasing the people that don't like you. Fuck those people. Now, are there scenarios where you may be able to articulate things and have them reconsider and maybe change their perspectives? Of course there is. But if we can benefit a certain number of people, if we can build people up, we can make people stronger and more capable and emotionally more well-rounded. If you can reach one person, that's a fucking win. And on one of my last events, I said, and it was a freedom rally, right? So in the freedom rally, there's a lot of people that are feeling the government overreach, government intrusion, and they're upset with the way that we're being treated. And I said, guys, listen, if you're upset with government overreach, if you think there's tyranny that's being forced down your throats and you're not comfortable with the way that the government is treating you as individual sovereign citizens, the first thing you need to do is you need to be healthy. You need to be fit. You need to be strong. You need to be resilient. Because people that are strong, fit, and resilient and have courage, that is what they fear. They are not afraid of the fat, weak idiot that shoves McDonald's down his neck every day. That's what they want you to be. What they don't want you to be is fucking somebody with courage, somebody that's not afraid to buck the system, somebody that's not afraid to stand up and say, no, not today. And I said, but in order to be that person, there's some milestones that you probably need to be able to fucking pass. I said, for instance, and we were in like this pub. I said, for instance, every single person here should be able to set their beer down and you and I go hit the road and we run for 2 miles right now. If you can't do that, you are not ready to resist tyranny. Period. You are not ready. And if you're telling yourself that you are ready, but the thought of running 2 miles is something that you think that you're incapable of doing, you need to be honest with yourself. You are not ready. And I had some people come up to me at the end of the night as I was getting in my truck, and they said, "Hey, I'm going to start running tomorrow because I don't think I can run 2 miles." And what you said resonated with me. And it's like, yes, fuck yeah, right there. A couple people listened to that and it resonated with them, and they want to be better as a result. That's what we need to do for each other. Build each other up. Make each other want to be better. Make each other want to be more capable. Show each other love. Show each other kindness. And really, as a collective, we all grow together and we get better. I'm going to leave it at that, guys. Like I said, this is dropping December 23rd. So Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. I look forward to the show taking it to the next level in 2022. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Guns and Geese is blowing up. We're going to be taking it on the road here probably in the next year or two. And I'm just excited to fucking be sharing this phase of my life with each and every one of you. Thank you, and we'll talk next time.